not said by the Exalted One. Section 60. Theravada. But was it not said by the Exalted One? These three modes in word, term, or name, bhikkhus, which have been distinct in the past, are now distinct, and will be distinct, are not condemned by recluses and Brahmins who are wise. Which three? That material aggregate which is past, which has ceased, which is changed, is reckoned, termed, named has been. It is not reckoned as exists, nor as will be. And so for the aggregates of feeling, perception, mental coefficients, consciousness. That material aggregate which is not yet born, and which has not appeared, is reckoned, termed, named will be, but is not reckoned as exists, nor as has been. And so for the mental aggregates. That material body which has come to birth, has appeared, is reckoned, termed, named exists, but is not reckoned as has been, nor as will be. And so for the mental aggregates. Verily these three modes in word, term, or name, bhikkhus, are distinct, have been distinct in the past, are not, will not, be condemned by recluses and Brahmins who are wise. Bhikkhus, the folk of Akala, Lenten speakers of old, casualists, deniers of the deed, skeptics, even they, too, judged that these three modes of reckoning, terming, or naming, should not be condemned or repudiated. And why was that? Because they were afraid of blame, of unpopularity, of incurring opposition. Section 61. Again, did not the Venerable Phaguna say to the Exalted One, does the eye, or sight, Lord, still exist by which past Buddhas, who have completed existence, have cut off the multipliers of life, have cut off its cycle, have exhausted it, and utterly passed beyond all ill, might be revealed? Or does the ear, the nose, the tongue, the co-ordinating sense, still exist with which one might do this? Nay, Phaguna, the eye does not exist, nor any sense by which past Buddhas, who have so wrought, might be revealed. Is the Suttanta thus? Then it must surely not be said that the past is, the future is. Section 62. Again, was it not said by the Venerable Nandaka, formerly there was greed within him, that was bad. That this no longer exists is good. Formerly there were hate and dullness, that was bad. That these no longer exist, that is good. Is the Suttanta thus? Surely then it should not be said that the past exists. Section 63. Sabbathivadin. But was it not said by the Exalted One, if, bhikkhus, there be lust after, pleasure in, craving for, edible food, consciousness establishes itself and grows there. Wherever consciousness establishes itself and grows, there doth exist an entry for mind and body. Wherever an entry for mind and body doth exist, there do grow mental coefficients. Wherever mental coefficients do grow, there rebecoming in the future doth exist. Wherever rebecoming in the future doth exist, there do follow future birth, decay, and dying. Wherever future birth, decay, and dying do exist, I, bhikkhus, do declare that to be accompanied by grief, anguish, and despair. And whether the food be edible, or contact, or act of will, or consciousness, I declare it to be accompanied by grief, anguish, and despair. Is the Suttanta thus? Hence must it not surely be said the future exists. Section 64. Theravada. But was it not also said by the Exalted One, if there be no lust after, pleasure in, craving for, edible food, consciousness doth not establish itself or grow there. Wherever consciousness doth not establish itself and grow, there doth not exist an entry for mind and body. Wherever an entry for mind and body doth not exist, there doth exist no growth of mental coefficients. Wherever growth of mental coefficients doth not exist, there doth exist no future rebecoming. Wherever future rebecoming doth not exist, there doth exist no future birth, no decay and dying. Wherever there doth exist in the future no birth, decay, or dying, I declare, because, that such edible food is not attended by grief, anguish, and despair. Or whether the food be contact, or act of will, or consciousness, I declare it to be unattended by grief, anguish, and despair. Is the Suttanta thus? Surely then it should not be said that the future exists. Points of controversy. 1.7 Of what does my past consist? Controverted point. That one's past consists in bodily and mental aggregates. Section 1. Opponent. If you affirm that my past consisted in aggregates, as you do, you must also admit that the past exists, which you deny. This is also the position in the case of the organs and objects of sense, the elements, or all of the three taken together. Again, if you admit that my future will consist in aggregates, as you do, you must also admit that the future exists, which you deny. This is also the position in the case of the organs and objects of sense, the elements, or all of the three taken together. If you admit, as you do, that my present consists in aggregates and that it exists, you must also admit that my past, which consisted in aggregates, exists. Similarly for other present factors of experience. Similarly, again, for my future. Section 5. Again, if you admit a past consisting in aggregates, or other factors, such as sense organs, etc., which does not now exist, you must admit that the present consisting, as you agree, in aggregates, etc., no longer exists. Similarly as to a future consisting in aggregates, etc., but not existent. Section 7. Again, a little more specifically, if you admit that material qualities in the past formed my aggregates, sense organs and objects, elements, or all of these together, then you must also admit that past material qualities exist. Section 8. And if you admit that material qualities in the future will form my aggregates, etc., you must also admit that future material qualities exist. Section 9. Again, if you admit that material qualities in the present form my bodily aggregate and the other factors, and that the present exists, you must also admit that my past material qualities, having consisted in bodily aggregate, etc., exist. Section 10. The same reasoning holds good, if, for past, future material quality be substituted. Section 11. Again, if you admit past material qualities existing as an aggregate, and hold the view that those past qualities do not exist, then you must admit that present material qualities existing as an aggregate, and other present factors, do not exist. Similarly as to future material qualities existing as an aggregate, and other future factors, held by you to be non-existent. Section 13. This also holds good if, for material qualities, any of the four mental aggregates be substituted. For instance, if you admit that consciousness in the past formed my aggregate, sense organs and objects, or elements all of which you would call real, then you must also admit that past consciousness exists. Section 12. Similarly, if you admit that future consciousness will form my aggregate, etc., you must also admit that future consciousness exists. Again, if you admit that present consciousness forms my aggregate, with other factors, and that the present exists, you must also admit that my past consciousness, consisting in aggregate, sense organ, and the rest, exists. So again for future consciousness.